All right. Everybody who's not sitting down, let's get your seat. We got one last session from Eddie, and then we're going to announce our case study winners and kind of give you a preview of what goes on tonight at the charity auction. So, as most of you guys have known, that Eddie has really been teaching a lot of the 3-day classes and spending a lot of time on creative financing. So this session you're going to find a little bit different than what he usually does. All right, there's not going to be a whole lot of PowerPoints. It's kind of like, you see Bruce Springsteen, acoustic solo, just standing up here, him and a mic in the audience. All right, how's that sound? So he's going to come up here, just kind of chat with you guys and kind of give you a vision of what he thinks creative financing could do for you and your business. So one more time, Eddie Speed.
Well, I didn't know I was going to have Jeopardy music, but all right. So I joined a real estate mastermind. I believe it was 8 years ago. I went there originally as a speaker. I went there as a content speaker, and so I joined it, and I've been in it for years. And there's probably right now 140 people in it, and I would say 90% of those people buy more than 100 houses a year. There's a few special vendors or people that do kind of specialty things that are members, kind of like me, but most of them are high-volume guys. So I did that, and also in tandem of that, some of the other guys that run masterminds have probably all started in Collective Genius. So there's a Kent Clothier, Sean Terry had a mastermind called Boardroom. Then there's another guy who had an event here that I spoke at last week, literally in this hotel, just right across the way, called Investor Fuel, Mike Hambright. And so I would say of the top 300 or 500 wholesalers in the business, I'm very comfortable in saying I know 300 of them well. I've been around them, been exposed to them. So about 2 years ago, really, there just was a rumble in the business. And the rumble in the business was the margins are dropping, right? Marketing cost is excessively different. If you looked at marketing cost to buy houses in 2014, it was very low, less than $1,000. By 2016, it had risen to maybe $1,500. And on a national average right now, marketing cost is for a real estate investor is about $6,500 a house. Now that's not the same in every market. There are some markets that are extremely expensive, and you heard us talking about this morning in Phoenix, and some, maybe in Waco, Texas, the marketing cost is average cost is $4,200 a house or something like that. But what happens to the real estate investor is they're making offers, and they're not, and because of competition, they're just simply not getting as many deals converted. The customer wants more and more money for their house. The real estate market's good. Customers don't really read a market at the time the market's happening. The customers tend to read a market after the fact, right? Like the guy you're buying a house from, until he hears it on the national news 18 times, he doesn't know the real estate market has dropped. And so what's happened is real estate investors are finding themselves in a tighter and tighter market. So about 2 years ago, I started this process. I had bought houses and properties and land and all kind of stuff on terms for years. I've had students that have done it. I've used a really good case study that Winberry's did years ago now, of buying on terms. And I've been around a whole bunch of old Jack Miller guys, and they were kind of well known to buy on terms and stuff. And the bottom line is I was encouraged by some guys that ran these masterminds like, Eddie, why don't you teach creative financing to real estate investors? And to be perfectly honest with you, I've been around these ninjas a bunch, and they're kind of hard to harness. I mean, they're really hard to harness. I love them, and they're great folks, but they're hard to harness. And so I said, well, my problem in developing really advanced stuff that they can do is I got to go sell it, right? I can't go develop training that 4 people utilize. And so one of the guys, it was Kent Clothier, he says, Eddie, I'll make a commitment to you. If you develop the training, I'll commit at least 50 students that you can start with. And by the way, he's come through with that. Seth and Scott were both Kent Clothier students. And they're in his mastermind, not students, but they're in his mastermind. So I've had a lot of guys that have come from Boardroom. I've had probably about 75 of them, either Investor Fuel, Boardroom, or CG. That's 3 of the biggest high-level masterminds in the industry today. I've probably had about 60 to 70 of those guys come to a 3-day class or some kind of a class, right? And so I know that we're on the right thing, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The real estate investor that he buys 200 houses, you know his biggest issue with doing this, adding creative financing to his business? Guy that buys 200 houses a year, what's his problem? How does he train his acquisition guys to do this? You see, they all have acquisitions teams. It isn't like Dave Franicki out there's buying houses and it's DaveFranicki.com. It's HouseBuyerNinja.com, and he has a whole acquisitions team. And his biggest monster in the business, to be perfectly honest with you, is how do I go train my team to do this? And it doesn't matter if he's in Seattle. It doesn't matter if he's in Atlanta. It doesn't matter if he's in Miami. It doesn't matter where it is, right? So when I first started talking about this with NoteSchool people, I had retrained a lot of real estate investors to be note-centric. You know, I met most of you guys originally at RIAs. Joe did, I did, somebody did, right? And so you saw us come present to some local, and so we were teaching you how to get out of the grind of being in the regular house buying business. In fact, most of you had changed your business and you weren't in the house buying business, right? If I ask you to raise your hands today, the people that are new in NoteSchool that came in as the big wholesalers are the only ones that would probably raise their hands today, right? So then I start bringing up, we're going to start buying houses on terms, and you're like, Eddie, we're not buying houses anymore. You taught us how to buy notes. We're using passive money to buy notes. We just have inventory of notes. We don't buy houses the way we used to. And so the issue really has become of me kind of retraining you guys. How do you go do business with the ninjas, right? So let me tell you who the ninja is, and let me tell you what I believe their issues are and why I think you can solve a big problem, okay? If any of you have seen us do case studies, you realize that this buying on terms is pretty insane profit. It is like, it's completely no argument. This is insane profit, right? I mean, we very seldom do a case study. The guy ultimately over time doesn't make over $100,000, right? I'll do a case study with Seth on Saturday morning that Seth has a deal that no way a wholesaler could buy it, right? Seth makes $25,000 the first year and $7,000 a year almost forever. And at the 18th year, he ends up making like almost $100,000 on the backside. So, I mean, this is just one deal, and it's a deal a wholesaler couldn't have closed. A guy had 2 prices from wholesalers, and neither one of them worked, right, Seth? It wasn't even a deal. So this happens to these guys like on a daily basis. Seth saying I have 8,000 leads is honestly nothing, right? All of these big operators have this problem over and over and over. And the problem they have in changing the business is not that the guy that owns the business can't come to NoteSchool and see how profitable this is. That's not the issue. Their issue is transitioning their company. Am I right, Seth? This is the problem. This is where you could really monetize some opportunity, right? Because this is exactly what you could come in as a specialist acquisition relationship and go add this to your business. Now, I'm not calling anybody out individually, and I don't have no person's name in my head, so I don't want you to read it this way. But let me just sort of generally, we're being just like insanely transparent with each other right now, right? I think some of you are a little intimidated by these guys, okay? Because you've heard everybody talk about him. Oh, he's in town, and he's all that in a bag of chips, and he's bought 200 houses, and blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing. He's only been doing it for like 8 years, but now he's this and he's all that. And most of these guys have all been doing it less than 10 years, okay? The modern day real estate investor is a ninja marketer, and he is a ninja psychologist at the closing table. That's who they are. They're young, they're aggressive, they're very good with technology, and that's why they tend to be around info marketing a lot, because their first love is marketing. They're good at making the phone ring. So the old-time real estate investor of 30 years ago, his marketing or his skill set at the closing table would be a 2 compared to their 8.5. Now, I'm not saying the old-time real estate investor of 25 years ago wasn't way better at understanding how to turn a real estate deal upside down and find money in it, because they were, right? This new person is not taught this. They are buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high, boom, and go do 150 of them. That's who they are. But they're good and smart at what they do. But I can tell you something. I had 2 classes this summer that didn't have anything but the ninjas in them. Nobody, you couldn't be in there if you didn't do 100 houses last year. My staff that was in the room would tell you at the afternoon by the first day, they're giving me that means go way down, Eddie. Go way down. I smoked them. I was so far over their head in structuring deals, the content that I gave them is the identical content that I gave you last weekend. It's identical content. I tried going higher because they're like, hey, man, we're ninjas. We're cat daddies in the real estate business, man. Trust me, if I go any higher than that with them, I'm going to completely do a disservice to the audience, which essentially means that they're going to wither away because I lost them. It's never fair for a speaker to lose an audience and just like show, so what, they think I'm good at structuring deals. That's not teaching. If you're not really teaching them something, showing them I can do math tricks on a board that they can't follow doesn't do them any good. But here's what I know. This industry needs some help. And this audience can help them. And it's probably the most insanely profitable thing you could ever do. So I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I've pitched this to you guys before, and I don't think you either got it or you didn't believe me or you just didn't act on it. Right? And so sometimes when you're a salesman, you have to pitch somebody more than once. So I'm pitching you again. I don't make any money off this. I want you to make a lot of money, okay? Because I'm telling you, you are leaving the biggest monster opportunity that I've seen in my note career. You have a volume of real estate investors. You have a volume of real estate investors that drastically need to go reinvent themselves. Am I right, Seth? Their marketing cost is up. Their conversions are down. They can act as cool as a cucumber or whatever they want to act like, but behind the scenes, Seth and Scott and Brandon and all the guys that sit in these masterminds that I'm around, I can tell you what their hot seat presentations sound like, and it sounds like, man, I swear, this competition thing it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. So I'm just telling you, behind the scenes, we know what the problem is. So what we now have to do is to figure out with you guys is like, what is the intersection to make this happen? Now, there's 3 markets that haven't recovered, okay? And so this may not fit in every market. But even in Ohio or even in Indiana, these guys are screaming. Now, they may be in Akron, Ohio. They may not be screaming. But if they're in the bigger cities in Ohio, they got inventory problems and they got price problems, right? Now, if you're in Jackson, Mississippi, Gary, Indiana, or any inner city Detroit, you just can keep going, right? Because those markets hadn't recovered, right? But most other places, there's an issue. This works just as well in high-dollar markets as it does low-dollar markets. So I can take somebody that's in a high-dollar market like California, or I can take somebody like it's in Phoenix, or somebody that's in Washington, D.C., and you can make it just work just as well as you can in Kansas City, although it'll work great in Kansas City. So the problem is price, right? You're trying to approach a property seller and get them to completely ignore price. And you have an industry that is out there buying from this customer, and they can't repeat what we're saying in the way we can say it. They just can't do it, right? So what happens is they are passing opportunities right and left because they don't know how to position a customer to say, sell me the house on terms, right? And their acquisitions guys have no idea how to say it. None. So the thing that I would propose to you is I'm going to continue to train these ninjas, right? This is far from the only lane I'm going down, but I'm going to train these ninjas. I'm going to make that happen, right? But I'm saying to you that along the way, they need help. They really desperately need help getting started doing this, right? And there are all kind of opportunities that can look like for you guys. And listen, let's be fair about it. There's 50,000 people truly buying houses in the United States. There's 50,000 people buying houses. So this is a gigantic market. It's not like NoteSchool can train everybody. It's not like we can fix every problem. It's not like you can fix every problem. It's just bigger than us. So you can find your little corner of the world and be a rock star. So the first thing is, I believe that we need to help you with a pitch. I believe we need to help you figure out how to go engage with a local rock star real estate investor. My life experience is, you probably ought to start at the top. You ought to deal with the biggest guys in the market because they have the most leads and they really need to monetize their business. If you get somebody and they're kind of a newbie and they've closed a couple wholesale deals and they just hadn't been very far, they don't even know that there's a problem. They're still drinking the Kool-Aid the seminar told them, right? They don't even know there's an issue, right? You go find somebody that bought 50 houses in your market or 100 houses in your market, trust me. Am I right, Seth? They know what the problem is. Ain't nobody out there they ain't got no different story. The story is what the story is. And so with that being said, that becomes a terrific opportunity. So I say go find those guys, right? There almost always is a prevalent title type attorney, title closer that closes almost exclusively real estate investor business, right? There's almost exclusively a network of these meetup guys in Mastermind. There's always somebody that's in the space. It could be a title company, an insurance company, a hard money lender. There's somebody that's a vendor for people that serve the industry. And just go poking around. I would say that you could drop me in any city in America, and in 3 days, I probably could identify 8 of the 15 biggest in any city, right? And it's just, you got to just nose around, right? It's not, it's not, they're not in the yellow pages. They don't list them that way, So it's kind of that, and I thought Scott and Seth's suggestions this morning on the panel were really good, and I would consider doing those. Obviously, you can buy a list, and but I would say then just start engaging with them in a process. And so what I have not heard almost at all on the Wednesday call is, how do we approach these guys and what do we do? So most of you know how I look at training, right? I look at like you're doing the training when you come to NoteSchool is not elementary training. This isn't like just, we should be ascending to progress at a high level. So I'm expecting you to tell me what you need help with. I'm giving you a target, and if you're struggling with how to go do that, I'm looking for you to kind of come give me feedback. Now, we'll try to make this survey that we're going to send out with some questions in it so you can kind of identify yourselves. Hey, I think I need help with this. I think I need help with this. But here's what we really want to do. We really want to help you guys figure out how to call on big operators within your market and figure out how to be their acquisitions expert for buying on terms. That's exactly what the role is. They don't have anybody on their team that knows how to do it. And if you want to know the real truth, the only reason they don't add it is because they see themselves as having to reposition their business. That is what's really bothering them. They're really, really thinking, how would I add this to my business? And I know this because I've already had 75 of them at a class this year, right? We've sat down with them. We know what they're thinking. We know what's in their head, right? I go to masterminds. I hang out with these guys all the time. This is their struggle. So I started thinking, wait a minute, I got a room full of ninjas that are way up the ladder, and me showing them how to make the offers they need to make, how to position the offers and say it the way they need to say it, and how to structure deals, and they can go do some kind of a joint venture with the guy that has the lead. They can pay him for it. They can pay him a percentage of it. These guys are sitting on an excessive trash can full of opportunities in every market. The biggest house buyers in your city have already been to my school, right? Mick and Janet, the biggest house buyers in your city have already been to NoteSchool, right? They ain't got a clue how to do this, right? And I can go look at, the Winberries, some of the biggest operators in your city, they done been to NoteSchool, and they ain't got a clue how to do this. I could go on. I could name everybody at this room and where you live. And I know these guys and that. Like, I'm telling you, this is a monster opportunity. I would start at the top. I would deal with the ninjas. I wouldn't deal with the babies. My sense is I'm just giving you a more scalable path. But I don't care how many houses that they bought last year. This is like getting on a rocket ship to them. They have no idea how to do this. And I just cannot tell you enough. If you ask me, in my deepest, darkest thoughts, like what I could do to make NoteSchool students, give them a whole business line that I thought they could, 2020, crush it out of next week. I told you one this morning. I'm telling you another one this afternoon. And this one is going to fit more of your personality types than the one this morning. The one I told you about this morning, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't want you to try something and not be successful, and I don't want you to try something and be frustrated. I don't want you to try something that's not truly your genius zone, right? So this one this afternoon is going to spread over more of you as kind of your genius zone and your opportunity. So we got some mics in here. I just thought we got about 10 minutes left, and just come back to me a little bit. Let me hear from you a little bit. Kevin, you got a mic? Okay, no, that's okay. I thought you had the mic. There you go. MC's got a mic. So raise your hand. Let MC see you a little bit. Or Kevin's got it. And
on. Hello.
Kevin, do you think I got this right?
I would say you have this right, because this is something that you've been ruminating on for, I think, about 6 months. Because usually they start, you'll call me and you go into the gestation phase. And one of the biggest issues as this year's unfolded is we really thought that the real estate operators, so the guys that are buying traditional doors, we really thought and we really designed it where we could make it as easy as possible for them to bolt this into their business. And we've had some pushback, resistance, but we know the opportunity's still there.
So if I had 20 NoteSchool pros that I could help bolt into their business to get them started, I could go put you in front of that guy's book of business, and it would be a winner for both sides. In other words, the guy that bought 200 houses last year, Richard, if I could say, okay, I'm gonna hook you up with Richard. Richard's gonna be your acquisitions guy on the first 10 deals you do. Richard, meet so-and-so. He bought 300 houses last year in Washington, D.C. He needs some help, and he needs you to go be an acquisitions guy to get some deals on the books and get it started. You see what I'm saying? To be perfectly honest with you, I struggle with who to send them to. So I'm saying this is kind of how it's got to work. You got to get out there and start bringing up some deals and push, like Seth said, just go get a deal and start bringing them to me, and we'll smash them up. Seth, have you got the mic?
Yeah, so one of the things that you said is they don't know how to teach their acquisitions guy. I would say that 90% of these guys are not even investors. They're excellent marketers. They don't truly understand investing, so that's why they can't teach their guys. If you raised your hand and said, I can go buy houses for you, I mean, if someone was in my market and wanted to take my 8,000 leads, I'd say go for it. I'd give them to you right now. And I'll create an account in my software, and you can go after it. And everybody will do that. It would be awesome.
Seth, if one of these guys in the room, right, if they just decided, okay, I'm going to go, I live in so-and-so, and I'm going to just go start working this, how long does it take for them to go start doing deals with 2 or 3 of the top 10 operators in their city?
I mean, they just got to go find them. You could do this in a week. You could start calling people next week. You just have to go find the operator and have a conversation with them and literally ask them for their dead leads. What are they? They're just sitting there. We all have an excess of them, and those guys are not coming back to this because it just confuses the hell out of them.
Yeah, and what's going to happen to you is that guy who's a bigger operator, he's going to be in a mastermind. There's one over here. He's going to be in a mastermind. He's going to be in some kind of a network in some way, and he's going to say, well, call my guy, he's in Kansas City, or call my guy, he's in so-and-so. And the next thing you know, that you're going to be doing it virtually. Grant Kemp brought in a partner and is doing this. He brought in one acquisitions guy, and in 2 weeks, they put 8 houses under contract, all on terms, right? I don't think people can wrap their mind around how big this is. Question over here.
Hey, Eddie, it's Brandon.
Hey, bud.
The issue that I have in my business is sometimes it's time. Yes, we're good at marketing and we can lock down deals, but if I'm the only person able to do it, one of my acquisition guys brought me a deal. There's 3 houses that need to be torn down, and it has the room. I can buy it on terms, but then I don't have the time to go to the commercial and I don't have the time and the capacity to handle every single lead that's going to come through my system. So I need help with someone to help with that process.
You need some of these guys to go become ninjas so that you can go figure out some kind of partnership way to do it with them.
Yeah, we just locked up a house yesterday for $33,000. It would sell for $160 if it was fixed up, but it's a great owner finance opportunity in Dallas. But I don't have sometimes the time in my business to devote to that.
All right, so I don't know that everybody knows who you are, Brandon.
You want to
tell them your company.
Oh, okay.
Tell them your name, tell them your company name, and tell them how many houses y'all bought last year.
So my name is Brandon. A company's called Simple House Solutions. We are here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm going to speak on Saturday. Eddie's 100% right. Our margins have dropped. It's been one of the most challenging years that we've had, and I'm going to speak to that on Saturday as to kind of what's gone on. If it hasn't gone on in every market, it will happen in every market, about the innovation that needs to happen with real estate investors, because we are being crushed, and we saw it coming, and hence why we've been working with Eddie. But so I am in Dallas. If anybody wants to speak to me, I'll be here tonight and all weekend.
Brandon, how many houses y'all buy last year?
I'm sorry. We bought over 270. So
he's a ninja. You got that? He's a ninja that's telling you he's a titanium member of NoteSchool. He still needs your help.
Yeah, and I just had a little baby, and I definitely don't have the time right now.
But you see what I'm saying? Because he needs acquisition guys that can go cut a deal, right? And so I'm just saying to you guys, the opportunity with this, I just want to make sure that everybody is 100% clear, right? The reason we keep throwing this back at you is because Kevin Moore and Joe and myself and me, we totally see when we go do these classes for nothing but ninjas, they're screaming for a problem. Solve my problem. And you guys are part of the solution, and you can make a buttload of money doing it. Richard.
So, Eddie, are we on? Is this on? Okay. So, I'll use myself as an example here. I know you've explained this at least 5 or 6 times on all calls, but I have no background in terms of, or no network, I should say, in terms of doing houses like Brandon and Seth are. So I start making some calls. I say, hey, I can help you out. And I'm terming this way so there's education for the crowd too. So I call them up. I say, hey, I can help you out. Let's assume I know all the wizardry, okay? And I say to you, I can help you get your sales. Am I calling you a wholesaler, or am I calling you a flipper? Who are you?
Well, they're real estate investors. They are predominantly wholesaling. Now, if you heard Seth give his blend and Brandon will give his blend, they usually own some rentals.
Okay, I'm just trying to walk people through the process.
So
you're a flipper or you're a wholesaler?
Well, they're predominantly wholesalers, but they would refer to themselves as real estate investors.
Okay, so you're a bigger guy in the market, and I can help you with the math.
Yeah.
Okay, I help you with the math. Then once I've done that, then what? Am I selling the property to a penalty box buyer?
Mm-hmm. You're going to drive the model.
Okay, I'm going to drive the model, but I don't have any penalty box buyers.
Well, I know. That's why we're going to use targeted marketing to go find penalty box buyers.
Okay, I'm just trying to walk
I didn't
people
presume
through.
you had them in your phone.
Richard, look
Yes?
around you. There are penalty box buyers in this very room.
Kevin, you shouldn't talk about yourself that way.
I'm behind you. You can't see me talking this way.
All right. So here's the reality. Here's the reality. And the reality is this is a timing issue. Okay? It's a timing issue. The timing for this has never been better than it is right now. You know, we bought our first house on terms, or Martha, you know, when we've done ranches and properties and all kinds of things, we bought a lot of houses on terms for years, okay? But right now, we have a timing issue. What I realize from you guys is I need to figure out where you think, where are you struggling to do this and get started, even to the point where if you guys end up in some little smaller groups and kind of practice on each other and then come practice with us. Right? I just need to, I need you to kind of identify yourselves. Hey, I see what you're saying, Eddie. I want to go do this. I want to go figure this out. And then I think this is the case. So I thought nothing better for me today than to demonstrate timing, an example of timing, more than doing a rope trick. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rope and bring it up and tie a knot in it. You got that? How did I do that? How did I do that? What I did was, is I brought, when when I brought this rope in the air, I put slack in it. Okay? And so when I put slack in the rope, I took my finger and I hit right there. Okay? I took my finger, well, it fell out. I brought it up, I put slack in it, and when the rope, that slack in that rope made a curl, then because I broke the straight line of the rope and I pointed my finger exactly where it was, I knew that when I hit that rope with my finger right there, it would make this curl up. Okay? In fact, it would make it curl up like this. And because I had slack in the rope, it would form a knot. I did essentially the right thing at the right time. So I'm going to say for some of you guys, this isn't your game. You got $1 zillion in the bank. You don't need to do this. This just sounds like something new that it's not your thing. It doesn't fit everybody in the room. But my sense is about 70% of the people in the room need to take a serious hard look at this. Okay? So we're going to be sending you some stuff. We want to figure out who you are, and we want to figure out, Richard, exactly what that process is, right? So that we can talk about it. So I hope today I've given you some clarity as to why we are so passionate that we think you need to act on this and that the market needs you. You are a specially trained creative finance expert. In the world of real estate investors buying houses and creative financing, your knowledge, your expertise far exceeds the guy that bought 100 houses last year, right? The industry needs you because you have been specially trained. And we'll continue to work at it, continually specially train you, but that's exactly kind of what it is. So I hope that this is something that you guys will consider, and I really do passionately tell you that I think there's some significant opportunities. So for some of you think you sounds like a fit, then we'll try to create a way that we can connect with you, send back, and we'll start through sort of an orderly process to do it. Does that make sense? This is yes? All right, thanks.